hold all the weight China, unless of course I was there. Then I dig my way home. If by digging I could steal the wind from the sails of the greedy men who rule the world, still you're my best friend. And after a good drunk, you and me wake up and make love after a deep sleep where I was dreaming of a dream girl, a dream girl.
It was on this day 20 years ago, May the 22nd, 2005, the Dave Matthews Band were at number 1 on the U.S. album chart with their album Stand Up. And from that album, the second single released was Dream Girl, which went to number 3 on the UK charts. Dream Girl starts our show today, this 22nd of May, a Thursday morning, 2025. And I know, because tonight is the night. Many of you have a dream girl in mind. Maybe you are the dream girl. It is the KW Oktoberfest Rogers Women of the Year Awards being handed out at Binghamton's. There is not a name on the list of nominees that is undeserving of the award. As these things go, of course, only one person gets to pick up that award and say they won in this category or that category. But every single person that gets nominated, and there have been an incredible number of nominees this year. So congratulations to each and every one of those Women of the Year nominees, including, I'm a little bit biased here, we have one in the Rising Star category right here at our radio station, Christine Clark, who reads the morning news alongside Mark Douglas. Certainly how can she be a rising star? I feel like she's been here for as long as I have already, but just a tremendous talent here at our radio station. And even more on the biased side, I got to say, I don't know, with all due respect to the other women nominated in the community service category, I don't know. I don't know that there's anybody more deserving than my beloved. That is right. She is nominated in the Community Service category at the Oktoberfest Rogers Women of the Year Awards tonight. And obviously, she's not just a Woman of the Year, she's a woman of every day. And I've mentioned this to you before, at least in my household, the woman of every day for sure. And I've talked a lot before about the Farwell for Hire fundraising campaign and how important, like it's really Farwell's for Hire when you are helping us raise money for cystic fibrosis research. But let me just put this in perspective for you. She is the strong, silent, hardworking one behind the scenes, my beloved is, that makes sure this campaign moves forward, continues moving forward, stays on track once we start moving forward. And yesterday, on a day very much like this day today, when the weather was quite frankly miserable, but we're getting busy with the campaign, there's not really a whole lot of time to start rescheduling things if they get unscheduled. So there we were, emphasis on the we, out in the rain, digging in the muck, doing some gardening because my beloved knew time is tight. This job is going to be icky. And she got right in there and got all down in the dirt with me to raise some more money for cystic fibrosis research. But you never see that, do you? Because she's the strong, silent one behind the scenes. Recognized, and a very deserving recognition as a nominee in the Community Service category for the Rogers Oktoberfest Women of the Year Awards being handed out tonight. Yeah, I'm biased, but my beloved is pretty cool.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
All right, how about that Farwell Show 5 for this Thursday morning? Number 1, Regional Council has adopted a proposal brought forward by Councillor Michael Harris, capping next year's regional tax increase at 5%. Kitchener Mayor Barry Verbanovic says the proposed cap is a good start.
I think some of us certainly would still hope that we can get a budget in, especially after the last couple of years, that's closer to the rate of inflation. But compared to where we've been, this is certainly an important step. And then if there's any further dialogue, that's something that'll happen at budget time.
Regional Council increased taxes last year by almost 10%. Number 2, with Canada Road Safety Week just wrapped up, regional police are reporting more than 200 charges laid over the 7-day period. Almost half of those charges were for speeding. Regional police say the numbers are more than statistics and represent real risk on our roads, highlighting the need for ongoing awareness, education, and enforcement. Number 3 on your Farwell Show 5 this morning. The Main Street Summer Transformation returns to Cambridge tomorrow. Can we get summer to return to Cambridge tomorrow? Come on with your coming on. But yes, the Main Street Summer Transformation about to get back underway. The initiative turns the downtown core into a pedestrian-first destination filled with vibrant patios, live music, public art, community events all summer long. Number 4, Canadians could soon find out if there will be another major postal strike. The union representing some 55,000 Canada Post workers said yesterday it's reviewing a set of proposals. Canada Post says the new offers address several concerns, and it's offering a wage increase of more than 13.5% over 4 years. But if an agreement is not reached, postal workers could hit the picket line starting tomorrow. And number 5 on your Farwell Show 5 this morning. 2 staff members at the Israeli embassy in Washington have been killed. The suspect, a 31-year-old man from Chicago who yelled, "Free, free Palestine," after he was arrested. The shooting comes as Israel has launched another major offensive in the Gaza Strip in a war with Hamas that has heightened tensions across the Middle East and internationally. And that is your Farwell Show 5 for this Thursday morning, the 22nd of May. We got a call late in the afternoon, or late in the show, early in the afternoon, because we go off the air at 1. This show does, not the radio station. We wrap up every day at 1. I got a call during Talkback yesterday from Willie, who brought up our local landfill and wondered how much life was left in it. Fortunately, the guess I made yesterday was pretty much right on. It turns out it's on the front page of our Waterloo Region record this morning. So we'll kind of close that loop, and then you can help me decide. Like, I feel like maybe I'm feeling a little bit guilty, and you can tell me how guilty I should feel. But do I owe Malul Blamey some money? You know that Malul Blamey supports the Farwell for Hire campaign by giving me a vehicle to use every May so I can get more work done. I'm a working man out there when I'm not sitting here talking with you. But I think I might owe them some money. You be the judge. I'm feeling some guilt. It's connected to the landfill. I'll tell the story coming up, and you get to be the judge. Do I owe Malul Blamey some money? And are they charging interest already if I do? The story coming up on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. The question is this, and considering how guilty I feel, I probably already know the answer. But I'll let you be the judge. If you want to spend somebody else's money, it's completely up to you. Do I owe money to the good folks at Malul Blamey in Waterloo? Because Malul Blamey provides for me each and every May to help me with Farwell for Hire a vehicle. They give me a pickup truck or a van, the likes of which I have this year. I'm driving around town in a van. It gets logoed by Westmount Signs. It looks great. It's very official. And it helps me get more work done because I can haul stuff, I can move stuff around, whatever. It's a work vehicle, and I love it. They even give me, and this might be key to the overall story, Malul Blamey even gives me a gas card to go with it. And then they just send me on my way, and I bring the vehicle back when I'm done, and they foot the bill for the gas, which was pretty generous, right? But that's the arrangement. Here's the vehicle, take good care of it, and here's the gas card. You can fill up your work vehicle with gas, and Malul Blamey will pay for it. So if I go beyond those parameters, have I done something wrong? Do I owe, in this case now, some money to Malul Blamey? Here's why I ask the question. I got asked a question on the show yesterday. during the Talkback Hour, which we will have again today, noon to 1. Always an opportunity to hear directly from you. And Willie gave us a call on the Talkback Hour yesterday, talking about the land assembly in Wilmot Township, and the conversation turned around to the need for a new landfill site here in the region. Now, Willie thought it was pretty soon that we would need one, and I said, no, I think we're in the 25 to 30-year range for the current life cycle of our landfill on Herb Street. And indeed, I was right in the ballpark. According to the front page of this morning's Waterloo Region Record, like, were they listening to the show yesterday? 24 years is what is left currently in the lifespan of our landfill. But we'd love to see that if we can divert more waste, extend that even out to 50 years, the existing landfill on Herb Street. And by the way, the region has undertaken a public study or survey on that. If you go to engagewr.ca, you can take part in that survey about the future needs and what we're doing with our landfill today. So by all means, check out engagewr.ca. When Willie asked the question, though, about the landfill, it got me thinking and feeling more guilty about the money I might owe to Moolul Blamey if you say I do owe it. So oftentimes, because I have this work vehicle that helps me move stuff and do more work, I do, the occasional dump run. And over all of these years, when I've had a vehicle from Moolul Blamey, when I pull in, the person at the window at the landfill, when I'm pulling into the site, asks if this will go on account, i.e., is Moolul Blamey going to pay for my drop-off? I said, no. I mean, I would love to send them the bill, but no, this is me just hauling stuff. I'm going to pay, and that's that. But when I went in, and I just did a dump run the other day, and when I went in, nobody asked if it was going to be on account. And I thought, well, that's okay. I mean, I'm driving a different vehicle this year. Maybe they didn't notice the Moolul Blamey markings. I don't know. Off I went. I did my work. I went through. And one of the things I was getting rid of was an old TV. There's an opportunity to get rid of your electronics there. And so when I'm pulling out of the landfill and it's time to pay, it did not cost me one shiny nickel, not one. And then as I was driving away, I see on the digital readout that it was supposed to be $12.34 or $12.39, one or the other. It's just over $12. I thought, wait a minute, what happened here? Like, I thought the electronics recycling maybe was free. So I back up because there was nobody behind me. And I asked the fellow at the window, I'm like, hey, hang on a second. Did you put that on account? He said, yeah, I put that on account. I said, it wasn't supposed to go on account. Can you reverse that and let me pay? Because it's not supposed to go on account. He says, no, sorry. Once we bring it through on account, it's on account. He said, the license plate just came up as being on account. And so I rang it through on account. It's never happened this way before. I didn't mean to do it, but automatically Moolul Blamey got charged that $12.39, $12 and change. Got billed directly to them instead of coming out of my pocket like it was supposed to. So I ask you, do I owe Moolul Blamey $12.30 some odd cents? Or should I just slide that in there with my gas receipts this month and say, thanks, Moolul Blamey, you helped me with another Farwell for Hire campaign? I'm feeling guilty either way. This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Something pretty significant happened on this day in broadcasting history. After 30 years on the air, Johnny Carson hosted his last Tonight Show. It was on May the 22nd, 1992.
And so it has come to this. I am one of the lucky people in the world. I found something I always wanted to do, and I have enjoyed every single minute of it. I want to thank the gentleman who shared this stage with me for 30 years, Mr. Ed McMahon, Mr. Doc Severinsen, and you people watching. I can only tell you that it has been an honor and a privilege to come into your homes all these years and entertain you. And I hope when I find something that I want to do and I think you will like and come back, that you'll be as gracious inviting me into your home as you have been. I bid you a very heartfelt good night.
I think it would be fair to say that late night TV has not been the same since Johnny Carson left in 1992, hasn't it? And what a sign-off for the guy. What a sign-off. A couple minutes away from our update in the 570 News Center. Let's go to the phones and hear from you this morning. Ward, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. How are you?
I'm excellent, thank you. How are you?
I'm just doing wonderful. Any better they'd be doing me.
Ward, is it true that you are a first-time caller to this show?
Yes, it is. Long time listener, but a first-time caller. Yeah.
I love it, my friend. Thank you very much for calling in.
Hey, no problem. Hey, listen, I just wanted to talk to you about your dump predicament. And, you know, we all know what the right thing to do is to offer to pay them, let them know what's happening or what happened, offer to pay them. And I'm sure they sound like they're wonderful sponsors to your Farwell for Hire campaign. So I'm sure they'll probably eat it up anyways. But just do the right thing and offer to pay for it.
You know what, Ward? I think that makes a lot of sense. I didn't mean to do it. I really didn't. It just happened automatically, and I tried to pay, and they said, nope, too late. So, yeah, I'll just let them know, hey, I'm on the hook for an extra $12.39 here.
Yeah, and, you know, it's funny at the dumps, you know, like that you're not able to reverse a charge, you know. I mean, geez, it's all just electronics. It seems pretty straightforward to me. But, you know, banks nowadays, they don't even talk to each other. So, you know, it's kind of a hard thing, I guess.
I guess so. Ward, listen, it's great to hear from you on the show. Thanks very much for calling in.
Hey, no problem. I'll call back again, Mike. Thank you so much for your time.
I appreciate it, and I look forward to that next call. Long-time listener, first-time caller. How many times have you heard that listening to a talk radio station? Love it, and welcome to the show officially, Ward. Even if you're like Ward and just a long-time listener and you have not yet been a first-time caller, that's okay. Hope you continue to enjoy the conversations. We will move into our first formal conversation of the day, and we'll talk about bubble zones, Toronto, Ottawa, Calgary, the municipalities across this country that are looking at these zones that would prevent protests outside of places of worship, or at least create a bubble around those places of worship so you can go about practicing your faith in peace. But are we limiting free speech here? Are we limiting protest? We'll talk about it coming up on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio. City Council in Toronto will debate today a recommended bubble zone bylaw that would restrict protests around places of worship, daycares, and schools. This would follow in the footsteps of other municipalities, including Brampton, Vaughan, Ottawa, Calgary, and it seems as though we've got the makings of a trend here. Ari Goldkind is a criminal defense lawyer, joins the program for a conversation. Ari, good morning.
Good to be with you, Mike, on a pretty controversial subject.
It certainly is, and it's always good to get your perspective on these things because I know, having talked to you in the past, that you would absolutely stand up for someone's right to free speech and someone's right to protest. So in light of that, how do you view the idea of a bubble zone?
So that's a good setup because I don't think this is a legal issue at all. We can talk about the legalities of it. There are many. They're kind of interesting. But this is really a political issue. Anybody who pretends this is about a bylaw or the criminal law is just deluding themselves. And the people who are sort of very loud on this issue, there's a lot of, and I don't like this word because I think it's just a weird word, we're being gaslit, okay? I defy anybody to tell me how many mosques are facing these kinds of protests and hate in front of them. I then say, how many people think this is what's happening at synagogues and in front of Jewish homes at Bathurst and Shepherd, if you're familiar with the Toronto area? How many churches is this happening in front of? None. How many mosques is this happening in front of? None. This is a Jewish issue. This is being done to Jews. And as your listeners, I'm sure, can figure out by my last name, I am Jewish. Let's not hide that. And what we have here, and you have some of the politicians who are against this speaking out, You have something that is simply show, something that is simply meant to sort of deflect off the truth of what's going on here. Look at the people that are really, really against this significantly. They are the very people that want to stand outside of synagogues and scream anti-Semitic epithets at Jewish people. Though, even though I can't stand that, I don't like the idea of this bubble zone because it deflects. And I think this was the nature of your question, setting up the fact that I'm pretty much a free speech absolutist. There is no right in society to not be offended. And we'd be a much better society if we stopped getting all bent out of shape at offensive talk. But this is different. This is meant to intimidate. This is meant to terrorize. And I can tell you, Mike, and I think a lot of your listeners, even those who disagree with me, and that's fine, will know that every single day you can go on to anti-social media, and I'll never call it social media, you know that, and you can watch the Toronto Police Service stand around with their hands in their pockets, letting these pro-Hamas protests go. The laws are on the books. We're now watching ambulances getting rerouted. And so long as you say you're pro-Palestine or pro-Hamas, you can do whatever you want. This is a police issue. And interestingly, the police in hearings aren't so much in favor of this. But let me just, as I wind up my answer to your question, let me read to you what this is really all about. There is a Pentecostal assembly where a reverend was consulted on this issue. And he said something that I think applies to this issue, which is, and again, the legalities we can get into, they're very simple. But this is what Reverend Ron Matheson said, quote, "It's shocking. The city of Toronto I moved into in 1995 was a safe place where this would not have been necessary, but it is necessary now. Our world is changing, our country is changing, but we can do something about it," end quote. Now, what exactly do we think the esteemed Reverend was referring to in terms of Toronto and Canada being safe in 1995, but change has made us less safe? That's the question that, to me, I think to your listeners, remains the key question here.
And so the political aside, Ari, what are the legal implications here with the creation of bubble zones?
So this is where the Toronto bubble zone, they've tried to look at bubble zones, as you said in your introduction, around the country. For example, I mean, I think a lot of your listeners are probably going, but hold on, we have these bubble zones around abortion clinics. You cannot do this around an abortion clinic. You get arrested. There's some famous lady, you can actually Google her, who basically spent years in jail because she just held a sign in front of an abortion clinic inside the bubble zone. So there is some precedent for this. What Toronto has done is try and reduce, and this, I think, is the heart of your question, the ability of lawyers like me to go out and say this infringes on your charter rights, this infringes on your freedom of expression. I mean, whether the charter is good or bad for Canada is a question that we don't have time for today, but I'll leave it to your listeners to decide if we're a better country post-1982 or not. But these no-go zones, let's call them what they are. Call them bubble, but they're really no-go zones. They're going to be, for example, provincial bylaws. They're not criminal code offenses. The maximum fine will be $5,000. People will get a notice or a warning and told to leave, so they'll get a chance to get out of there. The other part of this that's really interesting, Mike, and I'm sure you caught this, is if you're a synagogue, because that's really what we're talking about here, back to the political, let's not pretend, otherwise we're just lying to each other. If you're a synagogue or a Jewish home or a Jewish community center, and look what happened in Washington, D.C. last night, that should be a part of our discussion. It's insane. If you're that institution, you have to go begging to City Hall. You have to provide evidence. The victim has to sort of stand up and say, wait a minute, we can't take it anymore. And to the end of my answer back to the criminal law is I can't tell you, and I think this is at the top of your listener's mind, I could be wrong, but I think I'm going to be right. There are so many offenses in the criminal code that these pro-Hamasers could be charged with, from uttering threats to criminal harassment, to intimidation. The term mischief, interfere with property is one. And let's go back to COVID time, Mike. Remember how many people in Walmart or Costco's or out on the street were charged with breach of the peace? There are a number of tools at the disposal of the police, not animal control and the bylaw people who write tickets, because this would be a city bylaw. There are a number of offenses that the Toronto police have orders from above. I will take that to my grave to not charge, to let this all go. And that is why we are watching my city, and it is spreading to yours and others, turn into a cesspool of pro-Hamas insanity.
Ari, always appreciate the perspective on the show. And I know how difficult these days are, especially this day with what happened in Washington last evening. Thank you for making the time.
I appreciate those comments, and I thank you for saying them, and good to talk to you.
I wish you well, sir. Talk again.
Thank you.
Bye now. Ari Goldkind is a criminal defense lawyer. I always appreciate the perspective and his sort of tell it like it is nature. And at the granular level here, at the heart of it all, believes that these bubble zones are unnecessary. A free speech absolutist, in his own words, is Ari Goldkind. What really we have here is an opportunity for such protests to be policed and the laws around them to be enforced. That's not happening. Doesn't make the bubble zone necessary in Ari's eyes. What about yours? This idea, because the reason we're talking about it, yes, Toronto, Vaughan and Brampton already, Ottawa, Calgary already. How much longer before it spreads to the region of Waterloo and we start talking about the creation of these bubble zones? But even more broadly, as somebody just listening to the news of the day, what do you think about something that would limit where you can stage a protest? We do have a right to free speech. We do have a right to protest in this country. Should that right be absolute? Would love to get your thoughts on the idea of these bubble zones. 519-570-2545, star 570, 1-800-570-5715. This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
I don't like the idea of this bubble zone because it deflects. There is no right in society to not be offended, and we'd be a much better society if we stopped getting all bent out of shape at offensive talk. But this is different. This is meant to intimidate. This is meant to terrorize.
I am with Ari Goldkind, criminal defense lawyer, who joins our show this morning to talk about bubble zones. Toronto voting today on a recommendation to create these bubble zones around churches, places of worship, daycare centers, etc. I am with Ari in the sense, what he says about how much better off we would be if we got over this idea that we can get offended by absolutely everything that is said. I am honestly, I'm struggling a bit with the whole bubble zone idea. I read a compelling argument in yesterday's Globe and Mail that suggested, yes, of course, speech is free and should remain free. Our right to protest should be protected. But just as much as there is a right to protest and a right to your freedom of speech, I also have the right to not be exposed to it. If you don't like, if I'm saying something so outrageous and so offensive on this show, you have every right to turn it off, right? I have the right to say it because of my freedom of speech. You have the right to not listen to it. It's kind of the whole idea of my right to throw a punch ends at the tip of your nose. That kind of idea. And so I found that argument from the Globe and Mail's editorial board yesterday rather compelling. Because in this sense, all you want to do is go to your place of worship. All you want to do is drop your kids off at the daycare center. And if these bubble zones are not created, then you are exposed to something that you cannot turn off because you must get to that daycare center to drop off your child. You must get into that place of worship to practice your faith. You have no ability to turn off what is being said around you. I found that really compelling and supports, and you heard Ari also mention the precedent that exists here when it comes to the bubble zones around abortion clinics, by way of example. How many times have we seen them, those protests outside of the former Freeport, now Wren at Chicopee site here in Kitchener? And the protesters were always across the street holding their signs or within the parameters of that bubble zone. So I find it incredibly interesting. But in the final analysis, our guest, Ari Goldkind, says he doesn't support the idea of bubble zones. What he does support is the law being enforced to the letter. 519-570-2545, star 570, and 1-800-570-5715. Peter, good morning.
Morning. How's it going?
Not bad. How's it going with you?
Not bad.
Good.
So yeah, just to go on Ari's comments there, the protest that was happening in front of the synagogue in Toronto was happening because they were holding a real estate event in the synagogue selling occupied Palestinian land as real estate. Were you aware of that?
I was not aware of what was happening inside the place of worship at the time, but we're still talking about a place of worship.
Yeah, being turned into a real estate. Remember how Jesus overturned the tables because they were turning a place of worship into a marketplace?
Sure.
Same thing.
Okay. Listen, we can get biblical about it for sure. And maybe somebody inside that place of worship then could have protested against the group that had gathered there. But if I'm going to be attending my place of worship, should I have to be subjected to those protests outside? Or could we create, as Toronto will likely do today, the bubble zone? We continue the conversation on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Russell sends an email to Mike at 570news.com. Religion begets violence. It's a fact as old as man itself. Well, what are wars often fought over, right? I hear you. It's tough, though. It is a really tough spot. I suspect Toronto will move forward with these bubble zones, and I'm hearing enough support for it, despite what our guest, Ari Goldkind, said earlier. Let's go back to the phones, hear more from you. Ibrahim, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. How are you doing?
Good, thanks.
Good. I don't have an opinion on buffer zone. I don't have enough information. However, he mentioned that, Hamas supporters, people who are protesting. Mike, we can see every day in the front of us in the last, 2 years, so many thousands innocent Palestinians dying. And he didn't mention anyone that to bring attention, to protest anywhere, whether university, whether anywhere. That's pro-Hamas. Why is that kind of thing? People like him, criminal lawyer, he knows that what's happening every, this is a criminal, this is genocide, really. That's true genocide. If anyone doesn't call that genocide, I would say that ruthless human being. Absolutely, they don't care about those human children. And even now, in the last 3 months, they prevented them, the food. And you heard about even Canada, including 3 countries, Europeans now, they're warning Israel, even enough is now. That kind of thing. So every time, someone protesting, calling, Hamas supported, people supporting the victims. We see that. That's right.
The question becomes, Ibrahim, where is protest then allowed anywhere, even outside the steps of my place of worship?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Okay. And listen, I get that. So much like our guest, Ari Goldkind, is a free speech absolutist. Ibrahim is a right to protest absolutist. I think... And the reason we're talking about it, so I think Toronto will go in the direction of creating bubble zones, which, again, I'll remind you, the precedent has been set when it comes to abortion clinics, just by way of one example. But I think Toronto will move in this direction. And I don't think Toronto is going to be the last municipality in this country, in this province, to move in such a direction. I just don't think this is the end of it. And so we'll watch with interest what happens in Toronto, and we'll continue monitoring with interest what eventually happens elsewhere. Could at some point be a conversation here in the region of Waterloo as well. All right, I'm going to get you to the 570 News Center for an update, and then we're going to take a look at housing and the housing crisis that this country faces. Could modular homes be a way of addressing that crisis? Let's talk about that possibility on the Mike Farwell Show. It's coming up on 570 News Radio. The numbers when it comes to the housing crisis in Canada are pretty stark. We need millions of new homes, and we need to build them at a rate faster than we ever have before. It's daunting, to say the very least, and I think the word crisis is appropriately used when it comes to the state of housing in this country. So how could modular homes play a role in meeting this crisis? Carolyn Weitzman is a professor and senior housing researcher at the University of Toronto. Joins us for a conversation. Carolyn, good morning.
Good morning, Mike.
I know there's not one single solution to the crisis that we're facing in housing, but could modular homes play a part in meeting this crisis?
Well, the great thing about modular homes is that it's a route towards creating housing more quickly and possibly more sustainably. It could provide affordability benefits if it's scaled up adequately. Right now, Canada only has less than 5% of its housing with factory-built components. When you look at a country like Sweden, which is 45% of housing with factory-built components, there you'd start to see the kind of savings. But in the meantime, modular housing in the past in Canada and also in the present can be constructed in a matter of days, perhaps 2 months for an apartment building, which is much faster than on-site construction. And it also extends the season, given that, especially in the north or in northern climates, it's really hard to do on-site construction for much of the year.
How could Canada scale up its modular home industry?
Well, what you hear again and again from the modular companies that are there in Canada is that they need some kind of guaranteed demand. You need upfront capital in order to create factories or convert factories and to hire people, because a factory job is different from a construction job where the construction jobs are, as I say, kind of seasonal and also dependent on the project. So if you want a steady workforce of industrial workers, you've got to have a backlog of orders. So it becomes a bit circular as you take on more replicable designs and start building them. You can you require a certain amount of factories, regional factories, because transport can be quite expensive to build the components.
Is there demand for modular housing in Canada?
Well, let's put it this way. There's some exemplars out there. For instance, Util, which is a company in Quebec, has been building hundreds and now getting into a couple of thousand affordable student homes using modular. There were 660 supportive homes built in about 16 months in Vancouver using modular housing. So there's already these examples of where you can scale up relatively quickly and get that kind of demand. But it is going to take, particularly in the case of affordable housing or non-market housing, a certain amount of government guaranteed demand in order to scale up the modular industry.
So if it's government guaranteed demand, there really is then a role for our federal government in this.
Oh, absolutely. The federal government, in my opinion, is absolutely right to do this. To give one example, the city of Kelowna in BC created a number of pre-approved designs for triplexes and fourplexes and sixplexes, and now guarantees a approval turnaround using those designs of 10 days. If you compare that with, say, Toronto, where it takes 3 years to get approval for a multiplex, then that gives you an example of the time savings, and of course, time is money.
I recall a cabinet retreat under still Prime Minister Justin Trudeau 18 months, maybe 2 years ago now, regardless. And the idea of this wartime catalog of modular homes came out of that cabinet retreat, but I haven't heard much about it since. Is this something that the federal government should implement?
Well, yeah. So I was at the cabinet retreat I think you're referring to in Halifax in September. And when you look at what's happened since September.
Was it only September, Carolyn? My goodness, I felt longer ago. My apologies.
There's been a lot going on.
I guess so.
Since September.
Oh, my gosh.
So I'll leave it there. Yeah. There's been a lot going on in September. That's all I'm going to say.
Fair enough. Absolutely fair enough. So we do now have a new leader of that same party and a new prime minister in Mark Carney, a new housing minister in Gregor Robertson. Are you hearing anything that encourages you on the housing front?
Well, I do get some encouragement from the fact that Prime Minister Carney last year, when he was private citizen Carney, was on the advisory committee of a really great task force that produced a report on more and better housing. And it had a lot of great recommendations for all three levels of government around increasing affordable housing and non-market housing and modular housing. So I hope that Prime Minister Carney remembers what private citizen Carney was doing last year, just like, a lot's happened since September. A lot has happened to the Prime Minister since September. So that makes me hopeful. As Mayor of Vancouver, Gregor Robertson presided over some really innovative work and also some things that didn't work as well. And I hope that he's learned from his leadership in Vancouver and can provide a good sense of how municipalities can help.
Carolyn, really appreciate your time on the show this morning. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Mike.
Carolyn Weitzman is a professor and senior housing researcher at the University of Toronto, joins us to talk about modular homes. Yes, can be a part of the overall solution to what is, I think, appropriately described as a housing crisis, but we have to scale up. The federal government absolutely has to be at the table for this. The province has pledged $50 million to ramp up production as well. As somebody who may be in the housing market, maybe you're already established somewhere, maybe you're looking to get in, how does the idea of modular homes land with you? 519-570-2545, star 570, 1-800-570-5715. They can obviously be created a lot more quickly. Construction is faster. The sooner we get it done, the less expensive it is, etc. The idea of this catalog that we had similar to post-World War II made sense in September at the cabinet retreat. Where are we today? Would love your thoughts on modular housing as a part of the solution to our crisis. We'll take calls right after this on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
Great thing about modular homes, it's a route towards creating housing more quickly and possibly more sustainably. It could provide affordability benefits if it's scaled up adequately. Right now, Canada only has less than 5% of its housing with factory-built components.
So how do we scale that up? And is it indeed worth it? 519-570-2545, star 570, and 1-800-570-5715. Carolyn Weitzman is a professor and senior housing researcher at the University of Toronto. There are challenges, obviously, with scaling up, considering the vast landmass and how cold the winters get in parts of this country. But worth it? Sure. Only 5% of the housing on the market today is modular. And many say because of the cost benefits, it's a great way to ramp up quickly to get those millions of houses built here in the country. Let's go to the phones and hear from you. Kayla, good morning.
Hey, good morning. I just wanted to give a call because I actually co-own a modular construction company. We're female Indigenous owned and fairly local. And I just wanted to offer some thoughts towards modular that I think makes it difficult to break the market here. The first thing is that people assume modular homes are like a trailer, which they're not. Yes, they do come to you on wheels, but they come off of the wheels. So something that I like to talk about when I talk about modular housing is think about the car industry. If your car is built in your driveway, it's going to take a lot longer. But if you put it on a construction line or a line where things are constantly moving towards getting the house done or the car done quicker, it's going to happen faster in a factory where it's controlled and there is less waste. And we are able to get your home to the sites a lot more quickly. And because the standards for modular are actually a lot higher than your conventional builds, a modular home is likely going to stand longer than a conventional home.
What are some of the barriers, Kayla, that you face getting these homes into communities?
So far, we've had a lot of issues with policies and bylaws. So we're hearing, like, the city of Kitchener is offering you a potential of putting 3 ADUs. However, it's dependent on your lot size. And so then the setbacks and all of that factor in. So you can typically only get maybe one unit in. So that's kind of one thing that we're finding we're struggling with is really making the bylaws and the promises that the cities are coming out with, making it work for our clients. So that's been something that's been a little bit tricky in some municipalities and areas, not necessarily all of them. Other barriers that we face, I think, sorry, I'm just trying to think off the top of my head some of the stuff that comes up. I'm going to have to pause on that one because it's not coming to the top of my mind right now. Sorry.
That's quite all right. Listen, I really appreciate the perspective, and we'll follow up and hope for another conversation at another time as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks, Kayla. Good to hear from you today. Appreciate you calling in, sharing some of those challenges and opportunities. Paul, good morning.
Morning. How you doing?
I'm all right. How are you?
Oh, listening and just wondering. Private citizen Carney was pushing for modular homes, back before he became Prime Minister Carney. I think there was some reasons that he was pushing for modular homes, maybe something to do with Brookfield Assets Management being a big player in modular homes. It's like when he was over in England and he was pushing the British government to require that all jets flying into Heathrow used a special low-emissions diesel fuel in which Brookfield Assets Management was a major investor in that. Of course, in order to power up all our electric cars, we're going to need these, what do they call them, small nuclear reactors, spaced out all over the place, which Brookfield Assets Management happens to be heavily invested in. I can't help but question what Carney's motives are when he's pushing these different products, when Brookfield Assets Management is so heavily invested in all of these. And of course, we still haven't received all the information on what his investments are, what his possible conflicts of interest are. We definitely need housing. Small modular homes, maybe they could fill a gap in there, just like when we had the wartime homes. But are people going to accept having these small modular homes? The younger people today, they want these big mansions that, $1 million homes. They're not willing to go with the starter homes. So who's going to live in these small modular housing units?
All right, Paul, I appreciate the call. And I think you're on to something there. It's a redefinition of the so-called Canadian dream, isn't it? I remember when I was a kid, and it was preached to me, stop renting as soon as you can, because once you get into ownership, you are obviously contributing into your own asset as you pay off that home. And the home was in a neighborhood full of similar semi-detached homes with a yard, etc. A redefinition of that ideal? Probably. I think Paul's onto something with that comment. This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Couple of competing emails on modular housing and how we get more of it. Aaron, via email to mike@570news.com, says, I believe the issue is more about the land and municipalities taking their sweet time to approve permits and new developments. And Bill, via email to mike@570news.com, says it's all about price. If modular homes were priced more competitively, they would be everywhere. But right now, it's still too expensive. We're approaching an update in the 570 News Center. Then Gary Chalk will be here with Living Retired as he brings his humor column to life. Before we get there, something has entered the studio that makes me a wee bit uncomfortable. But it had to come into the studio because we are getting awfully close to a big number in the Farwell for Hire 50/50 raffle. We're just a shade under $90,000 in the jackpot, or a take-home prize of $45,000. And I promised that if we get to $100,000 in that jackpot, $50,000 take-home, I would wear a hat of the team that shall not be named, and I'll wear it for the entire Talkback Hour here on the show. Well, the hat was brought into the studio today because there is a belief that sometime, maybe even in the next 24 hours, that jackpot will rise to $100,000. The next 24 hours is interesting in the 50/50 raffle because we're giving away a $1,000 cash prize. Well, I'm not giving it away. The station's not giving it away. TLC Pet Food is giving it away. $1,000 cash into your pocket as an early bird prize if you have your Farwell for Hire 50/50 ticket before noon tomorrow. And you can win the $1,000 early bird prize, and your numbers are still in for the big jackpot, which is now almost $90,000. If that gets to $100,000, I put on the hat of the team that shall not be named. If you get your ticket before noon tomorrow, you are eligible for that $1,000 cash prize from TLC Pet Food. Get your Farwell for Hire 50/50 raffle tickets at cf5050.ca. This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio.
Hookah chaka, hookah, hookah, hookah chaka, hookah, hookah, hookah chaka, hookah, hookah, hookah chaka, hookah, hookah.
I can't stop this feeling deep inside of me. Girl, you just don't realize what you do to me. When you hold me in your arms so tight, you let me know everything's alright. I'm hooked on a feeling.
Thursday morning, we're hooked on the feeling of laughter. Gary Chalk writes a humor column. It's called Living Retired, because that's how he's living these days, and gosh darn it, it sounds good. It also sounds amusing, and Gary's column can be found online at livingretired.press. Gary joins the show every Thursday morning to bring the column to life. Mr. Chalk, good morning.
Good morning, Mike with a mic. How you doing today?
Well, I could use some sunshine, Gary. How about you?
Oh, bring it on, I tell you. You know, you mentioned about living retired. You start to really notice this lack of sunshine. And I also noticed living retired, Mike, that time flies. Like, I mean, I thought time flew when I worked. Well, now, even retired, like, I mean, we chat every Thursday morning. And, you know, I'm sitting here this morning, and it just feels like we talked yesterday morning. A whole week's gone by.
It's funny how that happens, isn't it, Gary? Time does fly.
Oh, my gosh. But I'm telling you, remember we spoke, I think it was 2 weeks ago, about being on trend in that modern fit shirt. Remember that?
I do remember that. And, you know, I've been trying to leave hints around the house to maybe get one, because it sounds like this modern fit shirt is like a game changer.
Well, it's life altering. Now, I don't know whether your wife's going to go along with it, because of the type of results I have. You know, it all started, as I said, back when Jan gave me this modern fit shirt, and she said I was on trend when I wore it, and I wore it. Went into Hortons. Remember, standing in line, a young, attractive woman in front of me. She turns around, wants to buy my coffee, and she says, "You got a really nice shirt on." And then that same day, I had to go to the bank ATM, had an instance, had to go inside, and the woman gave me my money and corrected everything that happened at the bank. And she said, "Boy," she said, "that's a nice shirt you're wearing." Well, Mike, I'm telling you, it gets better yet. Last Friday, going into the holiday weekend, I was at Zehrs. Popped in for just a couple of things, went through the drive-through, the self-checkout. And, of course, because I now have my standard of being on trend in my modern fit shirt, it happened again.
No kidding.
Yeah, I'm putting my groceries into the bag and at the self-checkout, and there's an attendant who's always sort of standing overseeing that thing, helping people. And she approached as I just sort of pulled the bill out of the machine, the receipt. She said, "Sir, we have some bouquets of fresh flowers. They're free. Would you like one?" Now, Mike, there's only one reason alone she would offer me a free bouquet of flowers: because I'm on trend and I'm wearing a modern fit shirt.
Of course.
Why else would it happen?
Why else would it happen, Gary? I have no idea.
Well, so here is the living retired question of the day. It's not unlike your dilemma going to the landfill. If you were given a bouquet of fresh flowers for free, when you handed them to your wife, would you spill the beans and say they were free?
Do I owe Malul Blamey $12.39 or not? I would not, Gary. I would not spill the beans. I would just present them to my lovely wife and hope for the best.
Well, here's what I did, hoping for the best.
Okay.
I got home, got out a vase, unwrapped the free bouquet of fresh flowers, put them in the vase, placed them on the kitchen counter, and I waited for Jan to walk into the kitchen. Soon she arrived. First question, she wanted to know, did I get the low-fat sour cream? She wanted zero-sugar yogurt, and she saw the asparagus and says, "Let's have it for tonight." And all the time, I'm anxiously waiting to see if she'll spot the flowers. Finally, she saw them, and I'm expecting her to give me a hug and a kiss. And you know what? She looked at the flowers, and she looked me in the eye and said, "Okay, Gary, what did you do wrong? Why are you apologizing?"
Listen, that's a fair question, I think. That's a fair question.
Yeah, but do you know how that made me feel? I have given my wife a beautiful, fresh-cut flower arrangement, and she thinks I've screwed up on something, and these flowers are my way of apologizing. Now, I mean, she knows it is very, very unlikely that right out of the blue, Gary would come home and give her a beautiful bouquet of fresh-cut flowers. In fact, as hard as I tried, Mike, the only way I could get out of it was to tell the truth, and I told Jan that the flowers were free, but it was only because I'm on trend with my modern fit shirt.
Right.
That's obviously
on trend at the coffee shop, on trend at the bank, you're on trend at the grocery store. Please tell me, Gary, you are washing the shirt in between wearings. Yeah?
Oh, yes.
Okay,
yes,
okay,
yes.
good.
There's no doubt about that.
Good man.
But standing there at our kitchen table, I explained it to her, and I said just that. One, since I'm on trend in my modern fit shirt, the young lady got me my coffee at Hortons. The bank teller complimented me on my shirt. The female attendant now at Zehrs has offered me free bouquet of fresh-cut flowers. Jan interrupted me at that point, Mike, and she said, "Gary, call it on trend, call it modern fit, but 3 times and you're out.
And you thought honesty was the best policy, Gary.
Well, I'm starting to wonder.
Gary Chalk is our humor columnist. He writes the column Living Retired. You can find it online, livingretired.press. And while you're there, make sure you sign up for the weekly newsletter. That column will be delivered directly into your inbox so you can have a chuckle every week, along with those memos from the boss. Gary has his exquisite taste. Let me just put it this way, not just in fashion, but also in beverages. And we have his very own Living Retired wine tasting notes still to come. Living Retired continues on the Mike Farwell Show this morning. 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Well, it's 3 strikes and he's out at home because his on-trend shirt is getting him way too much attention. But Gary Chalk is still in with us here. Living Retired continues on the Mike Farwell Show. From trendy shirts, Gary, to the best wine. There are Living Retired wine tasting notes.
You know, I got to tell you how this came about.
Okay.
Because back at the launch for Farwell for Hire, the museum, we had a great time. Jan and I went, and that's the first time I had your Face for Radio beer from the guys over at Block 3. And it was a very good beer. And I checked, and and I know there are tasting notes for beer, and they said that for your Face for Radio beer, that it was described as piney and fresh. I don't have very good taste buds. I really don't. And I don't know how to decipher. I just know that I liked the beer. So a couple of weeks ago, Jan and I had this party. Lots of people here. They left, and of course everything's a mess. And what I counted were five opened, half-empty bottles of wine that were left over. So there's 5 of them. There were various amounts of a little bit of wine in each. And I read the tasting notes on these things. And so here's the first bottle, Mike. It was a Sauvignon Blanc. It's one of Jan's favorites. And the label says, "This wine dazzles with aromas of intense tropical fruit." And I'm telling the truth here, Mike, fresh grass notes.
Grass notes?
Yeah, tastes like grass.
Okay.
$20 bottle of wine. It's been cellared by Lawn Boy. Like what's with that? And then the second bottle was Sauvignon Blanc, also from the Marlborough region in New Zealand. And it said the winemaker describes this wine as approachable. What's approachable mean?
Well, listen, I hope my wine's approachable, Gary, because I approach the bottle quite often these days.
Hey, that's another issue.
That's right.
And they said it's not only approachable, but it's food-friendly with a beautiful expression of crisp lime and ripe passion fruit. And I'm thinking this was a $17 bottle of wine, $17 bottle of wine. It was probably $2 for the wine, $15 for the copywriter.
Exactly. Somebody is making their money here.
Yeah, then there was a Pinot Grigio from California. It's the third bottle. Tasting note said, "This carefully crafted wine has aromas of juicy white peach and citrus." And I was relieved that it also said that it is balanced wine that finishes with layers of bright fruit flavors. That was the third bottle. Now, the fourth bottle was an Italian Pinot Grigio. Label contained a warning. Even before I read the tasting notes, it said, "Serve chilled." Now, I interpreted that to mean that this wine should not be stored, to age. Instead of being a good vintage year, I thought maybe this bottle of wine was more like a good shift. And the tasting notes described it as a fresh whiff of orange blossom, a crisp and lovely mouthful of lemon, lime with green apple flavors. Finally, I get to the fifth bottle. This one blew me away. This is Canadian from British Columbia, Pinot Grigio. And they have copywriters out west, I'm telling you, Mike. They described this as, listen carefully, harvested under the light of the moon, this unique wine delivers the unexpected, a cool, fresh taste that captures the mystery of the night itself. Mike, here's the question. If it says the unexpected, cool, fresh taste captures the mystery of the night itself, what's it taste? What's the flavor? What does night taste like?
What does night taste like?
So after all these, I said, well, why don't I just sort of combine all these wines and put them together instead of having 5, bottles in the fridge? We'll just put them into a craft. So I carefully combined the contents of each of the 5 wines, and it came to just about maybe the halfway mark of this craft, which equals about maybe 2 glasses or $32 in a restaurant. That's sort of the measuring stick.
Right.
So now I've got, nobody's around, and I thought, well, I served this to Jan at dinner time. I'm going to have to know what this stuff tastes like. So I wanted to come up with my own living retired wine tasting notes.
Excellent.
Right. So remember now, 5 different wines, and just to go back, they said that the dazzles with aromas of intense tropical fruit. Another one had those fresh grass notes. One was approachable and fruit-friendly, a beautiful expression of crisp lime and passion fruit. The other one was aromas of juicy white wine and citrus. There was fresh whiffs of orange blossom, and the crisp lemon, lime, green apples, and finally, of course, that unexpected, cool, fresh taste that captures the mystery of the night. So what I did, I poured it into a glass, and I swirled it around. I took a deep breath before I swished the wine into my mouth. Then I swallowed. I can tell you, I'm here to report, I didn't gag for too long, but I did write my tasting notes for this blended wine, and what I came up with, I'm no copywriter, but the words that came to me immediately, Mike, were pairs well with Pepto-Bismol.
Gary, I don't know if it's going to make it to the label.
I don't know. It just makes you wonder. But, the other thing about wine bottles and beer, you got to always take them back. And there's this thing about going to the beer store that, they provide customers with these large carts, sort of like a grocery cart that's on steroids. And you drive up to the store and, you pop the trunk for your to get the beer out. You have to do that before the car explodes from all the fumes of empty beer bottles. But you walk into those store with those empty, smelly bottles, and you put them on a horizontal conveyor belt. I think it's been engineered to be able to sound as loud as a Mack truck. They all go down there. I'm getting a headache, and I'm just in there for one return. And, you walk along the conveyor belt, and the empties reach the cashier about the same time as you do. And this is the person who decides, very important job, what you should get, how much loose change they should give you for your drinking habit.
Well, that's why the conveyor is so noisy, Gary, so that when you put your empties on there, everybody looks over, oh, look how much that guy's been drinking.
Maybe. But, Mike, I'm telling you, what a concept the beer store is. Where can you walk into any other store, give them a bunch of empty bottles, and they give you some money to get out?
Or, Gary, you could put it towards your next purchase, don't you know?
Oh.
That too.
Dan thinks it's bad enough that I just take back empties. I'm not coming back with refills. Let's put it that way.
I love it. Always fun on Thursday mornings, my friend. We'll talk in a week's time.
Have a good one. Take care, Mike.
Gary Chalk is the humor columnist. He writes Living Retired. You can find it online, livingretired.press. And while you're there, make sure you sign up for the weekly newsletter. That column can be delivered directly to your inbox, livingretired.press. Gary Chalk, the writer of it, joins us every Thursday morning at 10:30 here on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. If I say Highway 7, what comes to mind for you? Oh, you mean the highway that's never going to be built or rebuilt / expanded? That highway? The 40 years or so that we've been waiting. Here's another example of just how long we've been waiting for the new Highway 7 between Kitchener and Guelph. Anyone who lives in the region of Waterloo, and specifically Kitchener, or uses Frederick Street in Kitchener, knows that there's work ongoing right now on Frederick Street that is allegedly going to be part of the overall expanded Highway 7, improved Highway 7 between Kitchener and Guelph. This is the widening of the Frederick Street Bridge over Highway 85 down below, the expressway. Whether or not this ever actually connects to a new Highway 7 is beyond me. I seriously doubt that it will, because this is like the project that never happens. But don't worry, because there is also work happening at the other end of the project on the Guelph side. So if you take Victoria Street out of Kitchener onto Highway 7, which becomes Woodlawn Road in the city of Guelph, and you get to the intersection of Woodlawn Road and the Hanlon Expressway in Guelph, right? So you're there with the traffic lights, and if you turn right, you're onto the Hanlon. And if you notice while you're there in Guelph, on your left at those traffic signals, some brush has been cleared away to make way. It's part of the design work for the new Highway 7 between Kitchener and Guelph. If you were to turn onto the Hanlon Expressway from Woodlawn Road there in Guelph, you will notice that one side of the Hanlon has also been largely cleared of vegetation. All of this, again, part of the design work for the new Highway 7. Here's the fun fact about this. This same work was also done 7 years ago in preparation for the new Highway 7. But it had to be done again because all of the vegetation removed in 2018 has since grown back. So they're removing it again. Isn't it amazing how we can plan for and talk about and insist that we will build a new Highway 7 between Kitchener and Guelph? But even as we wait to build it, even though I don't think it will ever be built, but we're spending money and then spending money again to do the work of clearing vegetation for what will someday be or never be Highway 7 between Kitchener and Guelph. But don't worry, we're widening a bridge in Kitchener, we're clearing vegetation in Guelph, and someday a new road might exist in between the two cities. I seriously doubt that day is ever coming, but now you know what's going on. This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. There was an article in the Waterloo Region Record about a week ago that talked about seniors feeling left behind by the affordable transit program here in the region of Waterloo. And that prompted an email from our loyal listeners, Lois and Brian, who pointed out that while not users of public transit themselves, they know others who depend on it and believes this is an issue that should be addressed. Lois and Brian's email goes on to talk about family in Northern Ireland, where everyone 65 plus rides free on all buses and trains, even between towns and cities. And when they visited Budapest last year, they could ride public transit for free, even as tourists, because they are 65 plus. There were also several other Ontario communities, including Guelph, Hamilton, and others, Burlington on the list, where seniors are given more affordable rates for transit. So what do we need to do better here? Brian Paul joins the program. Brian's the executive director at Supportive Housing of Waterloo, or SHOW. Brian, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing all right, thank you. How about yourself?
Very well, thank you.
Glad to hear it. What barriers, Brian, do older adults face when it comes to getting affordable transit or being included in that affordable transit program?
So the current GRT program, they have something called the Affordable Transit Program. So it essentially offers a 48% discount, but it's means tested. So it excludes many seniors with modest fixed income. So really what it essentially is, it's a process, it's an application you have to fill out every single year. You have to have some sort of digital literacy, and you have to go to a centralized location, get your picture. You basically have to prove that you are eligible or poor enough, frankly, to be eligible for this program. It's a yearly rate of $576, which is just under $50 a month. So this is still too much, too hard for many older adults in the region of Waterloo who have to pay for rent, for food, for medical costs. The application process is complex, it's inaccessible. Many feel it's invasive, especially with those without internet or digital literacy. And like I said, it has to be renewed every single year. The result is that many older adults get left behind. They feel isolated, they feel unsupported, and they are unable to afford public transit. I mean, we know that 35% of older adults in the region of Waterloo rely solely on Canada Pension and OAS, and they are making and living on about $26,000 a year. So while there is a discount in place, the discount currently in place is not nearly enough for these older adults.
How do we, I mean, it seems pretty simple, Brian. Couldn't we just make it so that transit is free automatically for people of a certain age? Like, what is preventing us from getting to a different model here?
So and I've had conversations with GRT about this very thing. So they are in the process of developing or about to implement their 10-year plan. This is something for me, and you mentioned this earlier, there are many other cities in Ontario who offer this: Barrie, Burlington, Brampton, Kingston, Oakville, Mississauga, Guelph. I really can go on and on and on. The point being, why can't we do something like this? It's such an important piece of allowing older adults who are struggling now more than ever, give them access, let them feel connected to their neighbors, to their community. I can tell you, when I've talked to GRT, they talk about this current program they have, and in their 10-year plan, they speak to 2 points about fair recommendations. So one is what they want to do is they want to increase awareness around this current ATP program. They're all in on this program, Mike. They think this is the best program available, and as I said earlier, it's not nearly enough. So what they're wanting to do is actually not provide free transit, but increase awareness around the current program and encourage partners to support households in completing the application process, which I said earlier is onerous and frankly humiliating for a lot of people. So they're acknowledging that the current program is not accessible, particularly for seniors without digital literacy. And my point is, if awareness and application support are needed, the process is clearly too complex, right? So instead of simplifying or reforming the current program, they're asking others to help navigate what is essentially a flawed system. They go on to say they need to explore greater discounts through a tiered ATP as fare technologies get upgraded. What this does, it acknowledges that the current 48% discount is not nearly enough for many, including low-income seniors on fixed incomes. A proposed tier program implies the current one-size-fits-all approach is inequitable. So the current program is simply not nearly enough. We need to do more, and I go back to this. If other municipalities, if other cities are able to do this, why can't we do this? I've delegated at council. I've said, we're not asking for free transit. Like you said earlier, there are others who are doing this. You hit the age of 65 and you're getting free transit. I'm not asking for that. What about a pilot? What about 1 day a week? What about 2 days a week in which seniors, older adults can go do their shopping, can go to their medical appointments? They're not having to make a choice between groceries or medical appointments. Something really low barrier where they're not having to go through this incredibly long and humiliating process to be eligible for a program that is clearly not working. Only 5% of those who are accessing the current ATP program are actually seniors.
What are the implications of not doing this, Brian? I mean, it sounds like what we essentially end up doing is socially isolating many seniors.
Yeah, so transit is essential. It's not optional. It's to allow seniors to access medical care, to buy food, to connect socially, to feel connected to their neighbors, to their neighborhood. Without transit, like you said, they feel isolated, they get depressed, and they have declining health as more older adults age in place. As the population gets older, people are living longer, they need more affordable, reliable transportation for independence, for opportunity, for connection, and for aging with dignity. So we know, I believe that there's a myth. There is a myth that older adults are, once you hit retirement, everything is great. You're financially secure. You don't need any, you're still driving. You don't need access to affordable transit. We know that this is a myth. When I spoke to GRT, they referred to a 2019 study in which they found that actually seniors are well off for the most part. The issue is that they were using average incomes instead of median average incomes. There are some older adults who are doing well, and they skew the averages because we know that the number of older adults in the region has increased by 55%. And in the last year, and for those over the age of 65 are on our wait list, the number has doubled as well over the last year. So it's a myth that older adults do not need support like this.
I appreciate your advocacy on the issue, Brian, and hopefully we can get some action on the part of GRT. Thanks very much for joining the show this morning.
My pleasure. Thanks, Mike.
Brian Paul is the Executive Director of Supportive Housing of Waterloo, or SHOW, and it sounds like this should be a whole heck of a lot easier than it is. Yes, there's an affordable transit program, but if that program itself places the burden of proof upon the user, it's means tested, it can be difficult to navigate, particularly for an older adult. It's invasive. Why are we doing it this way? Isn't it easier to apply a simpler system whereby you reach a certain age, you get that discount at the pharmacy? Why not get it on transit as well? This seems to me like something we ought to be doing, and hopefully the advocacy and raising the issue gets some action on the part of GRT here, because this is something we absolutely should be doing, in my humble opinion. This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. You know that we love our arts and culture sector here on the program, and that's why we want to let you know of another production that the curtain lifts on tonight at the Guelph Little Theatre. It is a production called Curiouser, and it's put on by Penny and Pound. Peter Tedisco is a member of the theatre board at Penny and Pound Productions, joins us this morning. Good morning, Peter.
Good morning, Mike. Thanks for having us on.
It's an absolute pleasure. And Laurie Distel is with us as well. Laurie is the director on Curiouser and also, of course, with Penny and Pound Productions. Laurie, good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thanks. How are you?
I'm nervous.
I was going to say, right? Yeah, that's right. The curtain rises tonight. How you feeling this morning?
I'm very excited. This is a really magical production. We've got an 80-person cast and a 9-piece orchestra, and they're bringing a show that my daughter Piper and I wrote a few years back, actually, to life, and it is just spectacular.
It sounds incredible, and I'll come back to more of that in just a moment. But Peter, can you give us a little background as one of the board members on Penny and Pound Productions itself?
Well, I joined the board about a year and a half ago, and I've been trying to help out, as you know, because I know you have some artistic background as well. I think the arts are always tough, and we got to go out there and we got to get some money and we got to make things happen in order to keep the arts alive. So we're always in that mode of trying to get tickets sold and get sponsorships and all those kinds of things. But it is an incredible theater production company. These two ladies, Laurie and Piper, are just amazing writers. And Laurie wrote all the music to this play, and it's a musical, so kudos to her.
What inspired you to the theater, Peter?
Oh, my. I kind of got drawn in early in my career through a teacher back in middle school who kind of cast me in a play which I never wanted to be in, and I got the bug. So throughout high school and stuff, I did a number of plays, but life gets in the way, and you get you get go into business. You do a lot of things in your life, and you kind of go away from it, and then lo and behold, I meet these two incredible ladies who kind of lured me into watching some of their productions, and then asked me to be in a couple of them. So it's been so much fun.
I love to hear it. And boy, oh boy, can I relate to that story, Peter. Alan Hoke, he dragged me into a production, a musical of all things, at St. Jerome's High School. And I didn't want any part of it. And I never looked back after that. Did another one after that one in high school, too.
Yeah,
so there you go.
Feeling.
It really is. So, Laurie, let's talk about Curiouser, which is this musical you've written all the music for. And you're taking on something, pretty significant. Everybody would know the story of Alice in Wonderland from Lewis Carroll, Through the Looking Glass. What inspired you to look at it through this lens and put your music to it?
Well, it's kind of a funny story. This show didn't start out as it ended up. Years ago, Piper came to me and said, "Okay, I think we should write a drama, just a straight play about the trial of Lewis Carroll." And I said, "Okay." So we did some research into it, and it turns out that there was no trial of Lewis Carroll. So it was all these vicious rumors that a reporter started in the 1930s about Lewis Carroll, about, inappropriate behavior with children and all that stuff. And so as we did our research, we decided that he was a really cool person. But it was speculated that he was neurodivergent. Now, obviously, they didn't have any kind of ways of knowing what that was back then. But nowadays, they figured that he actually had Asperger's. And we thought it was kind of interesting because through our research, we discovered that he always kind of felt left of center, and he never really fit in with that kind of staid Victorian society. So we decided to write a show celebrating everybody's differences, and it's a really, really fun show. So it's fictional. And we've worked the Wonderland characters into it, and they represent certain people in his real life. And it's basically Charles kind of admitting who he truly is, and becoming the genius that he's known for being now. So it was really quite the process.
How did it go from being a drama to a musical?
Well, I think once we decided that he was a lot more whimsical than we first initially thought he was, we decided it would be a really cool thing to set music to. But, it did take me a minute, because when Piper decided that, I want this to be a musical now, we had written a musical before that. But, our musical before that was set in the Warsaw Ghetto. So I knew I could write that kind of music. I knew I could write kind of sad, minor key music. But when she said she wanted to do Wonderland, I actually had to go to the piano and sit for a minute and think, do I know what Wonderland sounds like? So after I wrote the first song, I was like, okay, yeah, I got this. I know what it sounds like. So we're good to go. So now I can write Warsaw Ghetto music, and I can write Wonderland music. So I wonder what's next. I don't know.
That's the beauty. That's the beauty of being involved in the arts. You never know where your creativity will take you next.
That's right.
So we mentioned at the outset, Laurie, that the curtain rises tonight. It's a pay-what-you-choose performance. Curtains at 7 at the Guelph Little Theatre. Where can we find out more? Where can we get tickets to take in this production?
You can go to pennyandpoundtheater.com, our website, and there's a link to Eventbrite there, or you can go directly to Eventbrite and search Curiouser.
We will look forward to another great show. We'll wish you the very best. Break the proverbial leg, and keep up the great work. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much, Mike.
Thanks, Mike. Really appreciate it.
Peter Tedisco and Laurie Distel joining us on the show this morning. Peter is going to be he's a member of the cast in Curiouser, which opens tonight, 7 o'clock at the Guelph Little Theatre. Laurie is one of the founders of Penny and Pound Productions and the director of Curiouser. Also wrote all the music. pennyandpoundtheater.com. Find tickets for the show. Again, it starts tonight with a 7 p.m. performance. Pay what you choose. There are weekend matinees as well for Curiouser at the Guelph Little Theatre, put on by Penny and Pound Productions. This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. An old high school friend reminded me of one of my worst jokes ever, perhaps. I don't know. We went from being in high school together to being in first year university together and taking a sociology class. And it was our introduction to sociology and thus our introduction to social norms. And my buddy just reminded me of this via a post on social media. When our professor began talking about social norms, I would nudge my buddy and say, he means the guy on the end of the bar at Cheers. That's the social norm he's talking about. And to this day, my good friend, affectionately known as Mr. Anton, says he still gets a chuckle out of it when people talk about social norms. That was the joke back then. And of course, we know that this week, the social norm, as it were, George Wendt, the actor who played Norm on Cheers, passed away. But it has brought back a flood of memories, not the least of which is for the theme song to the television show Cheers. And I was teasing our much younger board operator, Jen Tan, earlier this week when we played that song. So let's tease her some more, okay? What is your favorite TV show theme song? We'll see how many Jen actually knows. That is your Flipside question coming up. We'll have some fun with it on the Mike Farwell Show. 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. I don't think the questions come much easier than this, but I suspect the question will solicit many responses because I, for one, lament the loss of the TV show theme song. Like, whatever happened to the good old days when you knew your favorite show was on because the theme song was right there. It's a dying, it might be a dead art. Maybe not quite dead. It's definitely on life support. The good old days when every show had a recognizable theme song. I'm pretty sure Mike Post wrote most of them, as I recall, from my time spent in front of the TV, way too much time spent in front of the TV as a youth. But in honor of the late George Wendt and the show that he portrayed the character Norm on, Cheers, which arguably had the best theme song of all, didn't it?
Making your way in the world today takes everything you've got. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to get away? Sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name.
I mean, that's a pretty darn good theme song. And not to put too fine a point on it, but earlier this week, upon George Wendt's passing, we played that song to start the show. And I just had to, because I knew the young lady that is our board operator and who answers the phones when you call in, Jen Tan. I said, I'll bet you don't even know that that's the theme song to a TV show, right? And I'm not trying to pick on Jen. She's awesome, but she had no idea. Cheers? TV show? What? What's a TV show anyway? I just stream stuff. Probably. She didn't say all that, but that's what I was thinking. But she did acknowledge when I played the song, I thought it was a very nice song. So we had a very nice song to start the show earlier this week. And on the flip side this morning, we ask you the best TV show theme song was, or perhaps is. Maybe there's one out there that I have not yet encountered. 519-570-2545. Star 570. And 1-800-570-5715. George, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. Mike, I think you're onto something. There's so many great theme songs out there. Before I tell you mine, I think you're onto something. How about tomorrow, from your 45 listeners, if you're okay with this, we all call in with our favorite theme song.
You know what? It's an all-request Friday tomorrow, George. We could go that way.
To see that, because there's so many out there. There really is. And here's my favorite. You might not remember it, maybe you do, but once you hear it, you'll remember it. The Partridge Family.
Oh my gosh, the Partridge Family, George.
Listen to it again if you can. It's a great little song.
I will do that for sure, George, and I appreciate the call this morning. I have a whole bunch of TV show theme songs saved, handy, just in case. And the Partridge Family is not one of them. Now, I remember watching the Partridge Family. I should have got George to sing a little bit of it, because I'll be darned if I can come up with the tune right now. But maybe it's just because I played the Cheers theme a moment ago. I also have, by the way, the Rolling Stone list of the 100 greatest TV theme show songs of all time. I will play that, or I'll not play it for you, but we'll go over the top 10 before this half hour is done. But I want to hear your selection for the best TV show theme song. Preston Paul, good morning, my friend.
Good morning, Mike. How are you today?
I'm excellent. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Good.
Other than this rotten rain.
I know. Gosh, we really need a break from this stuff, don't we?
Oh, the backyard's growing like weeds out here.
Mine too, my friend. Mine too.
So talking about your theme shows,
yep.
Definitely Cheers was the best.
Yeah, I mean, it's a signature song, isn't it?
It is, and I've seen probably every episode at least 5 times.
I think it's still on in repeats, isn't it?
It was my number one show back in the day, growing up in the 80s there. I loved Cheers. It was really good.
I love it. Preston Paul, thanks for the call. Good to hear from you this morning. And interesting, back in the day, where they might have had a little more patience with TV shows, Cheers was like a bottom feeder in the ratings early on, and NBC stuck with it, and it slowly climbed up those ratings and became one of the top-rated shows of all time. So Preston Paul is right there. Norm from Cheers and the Cheers theme song. Sean, what about you? Best TV show theme song?
Hey, Mike. I've always been a fan of the instrumental ones without the vocal. So it's a bit of a toss-up. I love the A-Team, but I think my favorite of all time is going to be Sanford and Son, because Quincy Jones not only wrote that theme song, but he plays the saxophone solo on it.
You know, and when you talked about instrumentals, I mean, I had to think of Miami Vice, which I absolutely loved. And Jan Hammer, if I'm not mistaken, was the composer's name.
He was.
Yeah, did some really remarkable stuff. And I was actually introduced to his work thanks to the theme song. So
Yeah. And he has, but I think Sanford and Son holds a special place because I'm a big fan of kind of the Motown old R&B sound.
I love it.
That definitely encapsulated that, I thought.
Sean, appreciate the call. Good to hear from you today. Thank you.
You bet. Take care.
And Quincy Jones playing the sax on it. I did not know that. I wasn't even I didn't watch Sanford and Son. Wasn't on my list of shows, but love Sean's rationale for picking that as his favorite theme song. Donna, good morning.
Hey, Mike, I had to laugh when you talked about the Partridge Family, like one of my all-time favorites.
Okay, help me out a little bit, Donna. How did it go?
Oh, what, the song? Come on, Get Happy.
Right, come on, of course. Okay, I got it now.
Or it's even better, and this is true, I Think I Love You. That was like their number one song, Christmas of 1970.
Oh, my gosh. So you're in there with the Partridge Family.
Oh, gosh. I was 9 when David Cassidy hit the air screens, and I was pretty happy back then.
I'll bet you were, Donna. I bet you were.
You know, he even came to the Center in the Square, eh?
No kidding.
Yes, and he wasn't at his top, but he came. I'm going to say that was probably around 2016.
No kidding.
David Cassidy played Center in the Square.
There you go.
Hey, but I got a better one for you.
I'd love to hear it.
In memory of George Wendt. Do you know he has Waterloo Region connections? Because in 2017, he was at our St. Jacobs Country Playhousing as the Death of Salesman playing Willie Loman.
Yes, he was. And my friends at Block 3 shared a photo of George Wendt sitting there at the end of the bar at Block 3 in St. Jacobs.
Oh, it was great. I went and saw it, and he was fantastic. I just thought, I was always a Cheers fan, too.
Good stuff, Donna. Thank you.
Take care.
You too. Bye-bye. And we get to know these actors when they have huge successes like Cheers. But what was George Wendt doing in the 30 or so years since Cheers went off the air? Actors going to act. They go back to their roots on the stage, perhaps. And yes, George Wendt ended up right here in the region as Willie Loman in Death of a Salesman, as staged at the St. Jacobs Country Playhouse. How do you like that? In honor of George Wendt's passing, we are remembering our favorite TV show theme songs this morning. Cheers ranks up there. Sean said, hey, how about Sanford and Son? George and Donna, big fans of the Partridge Family. I'm surprised nobody has yet talked about the greatest American hero. That became a radio hit from Joey Scarberry, the greatest American hero. Do you have a favorite, past or present, TV show theme song? It's the question we're asking you on the flip side. Having a little fun this morning on the Mike Farwell Show. 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Talking this morning about TV show theme songs, and one of my colleagues just poked his head into the studio during that commercial break. He says, yeah, where do they all go? Probably too expensive to make now, right? And the shows don't want to spend the money on it. Or maybe, just maybe, they can save that 30 seconds for another advertisement during the show. I don't know, but I miss them. It's a pretty much dead art by now, but there were so many. And maybe there are TV show theme songs out there still that you know, and you can enlighten me as to what they are. 519-570-2545. Star 570, 1-800-570-5715. Your favorite TV show theme song. Our fun question today. On the flip side, Ernie, good morning.
Mike, I gotta say, I'll never get sick of hearing yakety yak come on. I don't know why.
For the Talkback Hour?
Yeah, I do. I like it. It makes me laugh.
It's coming up. 15 minutes, pal.
But a couple I would like to mention. I love the Baywatch theme song, and I'll sing it at work every once in a while to get everybody laughing when I start singing it. You know, everyone knows that theme song. And
do they? I honestly have no idea what the theme song is to Baywatch.
Oh, well, I'll request it tomorrow.
Okay.
But, the other one, main one, and it's a cool little story, too. And I brought it up. I said you should have it during the Chiefs hours, the Cops theme song. I know Bad Boys maybe don't want to do it to keep the humor light or because of their position, their questions, but I had a buddy that cranked that when he got his speeding ticket when the cop was coming to the car, and the cop started grooving to it and let him off because he was laughing so hard.
There you go. You make a cop laugh, you might just get out of the ticket.
I'm thinking, you know what, the Bad Boys, maybe, like, I'm planning on doing that, but hopefully that doesn't happen. You know what I mean? But it's kind of one of those things I want to test my luck with it anyway. So
I like it. I like it.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Ernie. Good to hear from you this morning. We'll go next to Kim. Kim, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. Talk about going down memory lane.
Yeah, absolutely.
Married with children.
Oh, my goodness. Yes. Love and marriage. Oh, who's the boss? Very good.
Yes, I remember those very young age. I could go on, like Facts of Life.
Yes. We must be of the same vintage here, Kim, because these are all shows that were right in my wheelhouse, too.
Yes, there you go.
Thanks for the call.
Definitely Married with Children, though. That I got that one going through my head right now.
Do you think that show could still be on the air? I don't think they could get away with jokes like that anymore.
No. And another one, too, is Archie Bunker, too, like some of the things he would say.
Forget about it.
Yeah. I've been watching reruns of those shows, and it's like, oh, my. We wouldn't be able to say that nowadays.
Absolutely not.
Okay, I'm smiling. I love this show.
Thank you, Kim. Really appreciate that. Very nice of you to say. Mark, over to you. Favorite TV show theme song?
Hi, Mike. There's so many out there, but one of my favorites, I always enjoyed watching All in the Family.
Yeah, All in the Family was absolutely a classic. And my colleague...
Archie and Gene Stapleton.
And did Carol O'Connor and Gene Stapleton write that song themselves?
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah, I couldn't believe that. Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
But, yeah, that was a fun song, and it's a funny song, too, Mike.
It is for sure.
The way she screams.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mark. Good to hear from you. That's what my colleague who came into the studio during the commercial break mentioned. And all I remember, my favorite thing about All in the Family is my best friend's mom used to love watching it. I never did. And then I was a little before my time, right? I just wasn't quite old enough to get the humor, I don't think. And she would be just like her laughter from the other room. We'd be hanging out, playing video games, doing whatever we were doing. And she would howl at All in the Family. Absolutely loved it. So my colleague who came into the studio during the commercial also mentioned All in the Family and thought that Gene Stapleton and Carol O'Connor had come up with the song themselves. Mike, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. I'm going to date myself right now. I have two favorites, about 3 or 4 favorites. One is Petticoat Junction. The other one is Green Acres, The Jeffersons, and of course, All in the Family.
Of course.
I look at some of those things on reruns, and I just die laughing. The other week there, I was looking at with some people at the Lionel's engagement party with the Jeffersons. I just about howled laughing. They would never get away with that today.
Definitely not.
So those are some of my favorites, Mike.
Thanks, Mike. Good to hear from you today. And finally, one I had handy. In a Sky High. There you go. Moving on up the Jeffersons theme. I had that one handy. I can't believe I have so many handy and so few have been mentioned so far. Eric, good morning.
Oh, Mike, how you doing? Your warm fuzzies all over today.
It's good, right? It's good. You need it once in a while.
What about Come and Knock on Our Door?
Come and knock on our
Company.
Three's Company.
Oh my God! It's like that one brings back John Ritter, of course.
Oh, sure does.
Like the memories, do you remember TVO? Did you ever watch TVO? Like
Today's Special and stuff.
Today's Special.
Yeah.
The Green Forest. The Little House on the Prairie was an incredible song too. So,
yeah, there's another good one.
Yeah. Hey, buddy. Thank you very much for all the memories you always put us through. Appreciate it.
Happy to do it, Eric. Thanks for participating in it on a gloomy, rainy, stupid, cold, fall-like day in May. We need to have some good vibes, don't we? Francis, good morning.
Good morning. Of course, I'm a little more vintage than what you guys are. How about Bonanza?
Yes, Bonanza is a good one. I thought I had that on my list of songs, but I don't have it here. But yes, Bonanza is excellent.
Yeah, with Hoss Cartwright, Ben Cartwright, and of course, Little Joe.
Does that the one, Francis, was that dun 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 dun?
Oh, yeah.
That was Bonanza, right?
Yeah, it sure was.
I got it.
God bless.
And you too, Francis. Good to hear from you today. Glenn, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. I have a question for you. Can you name one of the most famous theme songs written by a Canadian?
One of the most famous theme songs written by a Canadian. How about, I don't know, I'll go with Terry Bush, the guy that wrote The Littlest Hobo.
No.
Okay.
Big Bang Theory. Ed Robertson of the Bare Naked Ladies wrote it.
But that song, wasn't that already a Bare Naked Ladies song and they just co-opted it for the show?
I heard he wrote it. I'm not sure, but it was his song.
That's a very good example, Glenn. And that's an example of a more modern show that still has a theme song.
And I saw Kaylee Cuoco on a talk show, and she sang it, and it was pretty sweet for her to sing it. The last one I have, another one I'd like to mention is Hogan's Heroes, the drum solo. Remember that one?
I never watched Hogan's Heroes, but I'll have to check it out because I love a good drum solo.
It's got a great drum solo. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Glenn. Good to hear from you today. I mean, it won't be any Neil Peart drum solo, but I'll listen to it. Lisa, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. How are you?
Good, and you?
Yeah, I'm dry at the moment, but I'm anticipating getting wet really soon. So I have two that I haven't heard, and I'm surprised that the first one, WKRP in Cincinnati, had an amazing theme song.
It sure did.
And also, Welcome Back, Kotter. That was a show that kind of introduced us all to John Travolta, I think.
It did. John Sebastian did the song, and it was also a song that charted.
Yeah.
So there you go. Yeah, welcome back.
Yep. Anyway, have a good day.
Thanks, Lisa. You two good examples. Let me share with you, because I promised to do so, the top 10 TV theme songs of all time, according to Rolling Stone magazine. In at number 10, Too Many Cooks. Never heard of it. Never. Play for me. There you are.
It takes a lot to make a stew.
That's all you get. It takes a lot to make a stew. In at number 9, The OC. Never watched it. Never watched it. Number 8, of course, The Rembrandts, with the theme from Friends. I'll Be There for You. Number 7, everybody knows this one. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, also a show I didn't watch. But how about this classic in at number 6? Come on.
Is space and is timeless.
The Twilight Zone, number 6 on the Rolling Stone list of best TV themes of all time. Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood at number 5. Crazy Ex-Girlfriend at number 4. Absolutely never heard of it. As mentioned earlier by Sean, Sanford and Son in at number 3. We can just let that one roll because it's, instrumental. Number 2, it's a tie. This is a cop-out by our friends at Rolling Stone. The Brady Bunch and Gilligan's Island tie at number 2 and the number 1 TV theme of all time, according to Rolling Stone magazine, none other than the Jeffersons.
Well, we're moving on up to the side, to a deluxe apartment in the sky.
Which was also a spin-off from All in the Family. TV theme songs are topic on the Flipside this morning. This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Who knew that the Jeffersons, according to Rolling Stone magazine, would be the #1 TV show theme song of all time? Thanks for playing along on the Flipside here this morning. We're going to get you to the 570 News Center for an update and then open lines for your Talkback Hour. Let us know what's on your mind. This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
Take out the papers and the trash, or you don't get no spending cash. If you don't scrub that kitchen floor, you ain't gonna rock and roll no more. Yakety yak.
Don't talk back.
Just finish cleaning up your room. Let's see that dust fly with that broom. Get all that garbage outside, or you don't go out Friday night. Yakety yak.
Don't talk back.
Oh, I wish I had seen this sooner, but so busy with calls in the last half hour recalling our favorite TV show theme songs, as inspired by the passing of George Wendt, of course, who played Norm on the TV sitcom Cheers. Great theme song. But Sean sends an email to Mike at 570news.com. I wonder how many people can recall Norm's opening lines. Hey, Norm, how's life in the fast lane? I don't know, Coach. I can't find the on-ramp. And my favorite of all time, of course, it's a dog-eat-dog world, Sammy. And I'm wearing Milk-Bone underwear. If a Normism comes to mind as we enter our Talkback Hour, feel free to share. Phone lines open so we can hear from you. Get it off your chest. Onto the air, 519-570-2545, star 570, and 1-800-570-5715. We'll start with Jersey Bill this afternoon. Good day, Billy.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm all right.
I was reluctant to say what I'm about to say, but then because it was about you getting part of that big $500 million salary that Mr. Guerrero is getting. But then when somebody talked about you taking $50 million, I said, well, I've got a more reasonable solution, and I call it the 1% Guerrero solution. So I think you should have a contract that would be like $5 million for the next 14 years, taking you into retirement. And if the heads of Rogers think that even though you do so much, in terms of your community outreach, your Kitchener Ranger games, and of course the show, they say, well, it's a mid-market team. The only way we could justify that is to have to bring you on as a commentator on Hockey Night in Canada, and maybe give you a Canada-wide show like Mr. Snow had. So I think that would justify the $5 million over 14 years, and I certainly hope that would be brought into consideration.
Listen, Billy, how much work do you want me to do exactly?
Well, I'm just saying, that I think you've proven that you could. So many people that call in the Rob Snow are your listeners anyway. So add those listeners from Ottawa and Halifax and Vancouver and Calgary. So as I say, you might have to give up the Kitchener Rangers, but I think you could move on to Hockey Night in Canada. Why not? That's my hope for you.
Billy, I appreciate the call. Thank you. $5 million over 14 years, eh? Here's the question then we'd have to ask. Would I be willing to do this show for a mere $357,000 a year? I don't know. I'm going to have to think about, Billy, can I sleep on it? Can I do that? And while your kindness is much appreciated, I'm here to tell you, ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The Kitchener Rangers are my Hockey Night in Canada. Hockey Night in Kitchener, I grew up in this town. I grew up going to games at the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium, I cannot express in words truly the thrill that I get from going to that arena and getting to go into the broadcast booth. I want nothing more. They could say to me, Farwell, the Leafs are in the Stanley Cup final. Sorry. Oh, I made myself laugh. You call the Stanley Cup final for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I'll say, no, I'm good. I'm looking forward to the day I'm calling a Memorial Cup final with the Kitchener Rangers. That is what matters the most. But I appreciate you, Billy. I do. Mark is with us on Talkback. Good afternoon, Mark.
Hi again, Mike. Did you know your theme song for Talkback Radio is on the movie Stand By Me?
Sure. Oh, my gosh. That's a great movie soundtrack. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you knew that, Mike.
I did, sir.
It was actually on last night.
Was it? I'm sorry, I missed it.
I gave it a watch again. I've watched it a few times. It's a great movie. And all of a sudden that song popped up, and I thought, oh, my goodness, that's the Farwell show.
There you go. It makes you think it's the Farwell show.
Yeah. So one more thing, Mike.
Yes, sir.
Does the Memorial Cup start tonight?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
Do you know the first two teams playing?
You're killing me, Mark. You're killing me. I will let you know in the next 10 minutes, okay?
Okay, sounds good, Mike.
Thanks, buddy. Good to hear from you. I don't know off the top of my head, but I can look that up for you. And I'm sorry I missed Stand By Me last night. Their rendition of Lollipop as the kids are walking along, too. Well, not their rendition, but when Lollipop comes on and they're all popping their own lips. It was great. I loved it. I was watching the Dallas Stars beat the Edmonton Oilers last night, and I liked it. You can come at me all you want. Canadian team this, Canadian team that. I'm sticking with the coaches that used to be here in Kitchener, Pete DeBoer and Steve Spott. I'm pulling for them, and it's easier to pull for them now that the Leafs are out. Morgan, you are on Talkback. Good afternoon.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Okay, better next year for the Leafs, though.
Yeah, I know. I say that every year, Morgan. I say that every year.
I know. It's getting frustrating. How about Laverne and Shirley?
How about Laverne and Shirley as one of your favorite TV show theme songs?
Sure.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, Schlemiel, Schlemazel, Hot and
That one?
That one.
A spinoff of Happy Days, don't you know, Morgan?
Yes, it is.
There you go. There you go.
Right on.
All right, buddy. Appreciate hearing from you today.
Have a good day. Hopefully better weather coming up.
I hope so, too, Morgan. You know what? In fact, I guarantee we're going to have some better weather because there are two things happening outdoors this weekend. That's why we're getting all the rain now. On Saturday, 12:30 until 3, we're going to be at Kitchener Fire Headquarters on Strasbourg Road, washing cars for Farwell for Hire. And on Sunday, from noon until 3, we're going to be at The Lab, a beautiful little restaurant on Victoria Street South at Oak in downtown Kitchener. Sunday, noon to 3, big old barbecue, some of the best Sammys you're ever going to want to find. And we're going to do it all for Farwell for Hire. Outdoors both days. Washing cars Saturday, eating food Sunday. Rain, go away. This is the Mike Farwell Show. Talkback Hour continues, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Talkback is your chance to do just that. Talk back at us. Get it off your chest and onto the air. 519-570-2545, star 570, and 1-800-570-5715. Mary, good afternoon.
Oh, good afternoon. On a rainy day.
Is it
I'm already
ever?
sick of it.
You and me both.
However. Sergeant Frank... Wait, I got my notes. The streets of San Francisco. Dum-da-dum-dum.
Dragnet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Sergeant Friday, I think it was.
Oh, yes. Detective Friday. Yes, that's right.
Yeah. And how about the polka dot door?
Why did you that was like a quiz you just gave me, Mary. I was trying to figure out what in HE double hockey sticks you were talking about.
Well, I said Sergeant Friday in the streets of San Francisco. Dum-da-dum-dum.
You said Sergeant Frank first. Anyway.
Oh, well,
that's okay.
I'm like a one-eyed paper hanger here right now. But what about the polka dot door?
Can you sing that one for me?
Oh, the polka dot door. or the polka dot or...
See you soon at the polka... Very good, Mary.
Did you like it?
I loved it. We make a great duet. Okay.
Have a good day.
You too, Mary. Bye-bye. Oh, the randomness of Mary's calls. JB, good afternoon.
I could tell your producers are getting younger because when they were asking to clarify my initials, I said JB, not V. And she said, oh, Justin Bieber. And I just...
Whoa now. Jen, did that really happen? She's laughing in the other... Oh, my gosh. JB. All right, Biebs, what's up?
Wow. X-Files.
Oh, X-Files is another excellent choice for sure.
One of the greatest sci-fi shows of all time with the most iconic theme songs.
Yeah, it's a pretty good theme song.
Thanks, Farwell.
All right, JB, not Justin Bieber. Good to hear from you today. Jim, you're on Talkback. Good afternoon.
Hey, how are you, Mike?
I'm fine, thank you. And you?
Good. Just watching these playoffs here and, rooting for the Dallas with a couple of the connections there to Kitchener. Tough to see what they did to Winnipeg, but, it's a small hockey world. And just I'm a big fan of the officials, and we saw Garrett Rank, local kid, get into a couple games here, now in the conference finals. And local linesman Scott Cherry's still going, too, as they get down to less officials required. It's the good ones that keep getting the call, so it's nice to see those guys still hanging around.
Now, you know what? That's excellent observation. And let's just talk about Cherry for a second here. That guy's old, man.
He's still going. So
he is still going.
Out there skating with the young guys. As for the Memorial Cup, tomorrow night goes Medicine Hat and Rimouski. And just to share with some of your listeners, the Memorial Cup always has the same schedule with the WHL and then the host team, so that no home team can ever kind of build out the schedule in their favor. So the Memorial Cup schedule will always rotate through the same. And I don't know, are we cheering for the OHL or Gavin McKenna? We'll see here. But I'm going for Moncton, I think, and see what McDougall can do here back in the CHL. It's great to see.
Jim, I love it. You're a wealth of great information. Thanks for the call today.
All right, take care. Enjoy, guys.
Thank you. We certainly will. There you go. Mark, you got the answer to your question. You're going to get the Medicine Hat Tigers and the host Rimouski Oceanic. Those are the teams that will play as the tournament opens tomorrow. The Moncton Wildcats and, yes, the London Knights are the other teams in the Memorial Cup, which opens tomorrow in Rimouski. So there you go. Junior hockey. And I just want to emphasize this too, much like, and I hope you notice that I almost always call our hockey arena the Memorial Auditorium, as opposed to even shortening it to the Aud. I know it's called that in marketing, et cetera, and that's fine. I'm not criticizing anybody, but the Memorial Cup is so named for a reason, right? So I don't call it the Mem, the Memmer, the Mem Cup. It is the Memorial Cup, just like it's the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium, for a reason. I believe in that. It means something to me. And the Memorial Cup, not the Memmer or the Mem Cup, opens tomorrow night. Liam, you're on Talkback. Good afternoon.
Hello, Mike. Nice to talk to you after a while.
Nice to hear from you.
Yeah. I wanted to bring up that one of my favorite theme songs for TV shows is Red, Right, and from the Peaky Blinders TV show.
I haven't watched Peaky Blinders. Is it good?
Okay. It takes place in Birmingham just after World War I, so I consider it to be a gangster-type show. So it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I really like it. I will say, I'm pretty sure the bell that's rung in the theme song is also rang in Scotiabank Arena every time the Maple Leafs kill off a penalty, because I'm not sure if you've gone for a Leafs home game lately or not, but every time they kill off a penalty, a bell rings, and it always reminds me of the Peaky Blinders theme song, I find. So that's one thing I like about this song, is I always think about the Leafs, sort of.
Liam, I love it. Thank you for that. I hope you watch more Peaky Blinders so you can think about the Leafs during the off-season, which sadly has already begun again for Toronto. This is Talkback on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Every day from noon until 1, we open the phone lines, give you the chance to talk back. It's the Talkback Hour, and we go right back to the phones for Joe. Good afternoon, Joe.
Good afternoon, Mike. Pulled over to avoid the dead zone.
Good man. You're learning.
Little boy.
Who
Good
says
little boy.
Who says you can't teach an old dog new tricks, huh?
I know.
Okay. All right.
So I'm going to have to go with close runner-up is Sanford and Son.
Yeah.
And number one for me is that Quincy Jones song. I think the game show is called What's My Definition? And it's played in
oh my gosh,
Austin Powers.
Yes. And Definition with Jim Perry, I do believe. But that was a Canadian game show.
But the song was written by Quincy Jones.
I'll take your word for that.
And it's in Austin Powers. You hear him freak out.
Oh yeah, no, I know the song for sure. Yeah. Okay.
All right, you have a good weekend.
Thanks, Joe. You too. Wait a minute. It's only Thursday. Looking forward to the weekend already. I want to be retired like Joe is. Every day is another weekend day. That just gets me on a whole other tangent about Canadian game shows. How about Supermarket Sweep with Tino Monte? Anybody remember that one? Walter, good afternoon.
How are you, Mike?
I'm fine, Walter.
Yeah, I bet you are.
See, because I know why you're calling. Like, it's too late. Move on. We've all moved on. We've all moved on, Walter.
You don't know what I'm calling.
I do.
You're not
so.
that smart, Mike.
No, I am. You want to know how smart I am, pal? I know why you're calling me.
No, you do not.
Yeah, I do so.
Okay, well, listen. I'll tell you the reason I'm calling is because I could not believe I saw on the news over in Kitchener about these two yahoos that are arguing about their fence.
Oh my gosh!
Are you aware? Are you aware of this story?
I did see a little bit of it on the CTV News at 6 the other night. Yes.
And then the one guy got mad enough that he took a sawzall and cut the whole fence right out.
Like, what are we doing here, Walter? What are we doing? What is happening?
I don't know what's going on. I have no idea, man. But I've been up north, and so that's why I've been listening to your show, sporadically. So, hence the emails that I sent you. But what happened last night is more concerning to me about that game last night. That I thought it was in the bag.
No, listen, I was fine with the outcome last night. Thank you very much.
Oh, okay. So you're going for the Stars. Well, I told you my prediction in the final. I mean, I was hoping I'd be wrong, but maybe I'm not going to be, Mike. But if you could find out what's the outcome of that deal with these guys with the fence, because I would like to know, because they're not going to follow that up on the local news. But Mike, you can find anything out. I have faith in you.
All right, buddy. Thank you. I got to get to news. Walter picked Dallas and Carolina for the final. He was teasing me all week via email about the Leafs. That's what I thought he was calling about today. Don't cut down your neighbor's fence. Don't mow your neighbor's grass. Like, borrow a cup of sugar and be done with it. Talkback continues on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. If you can be one thing in this life, be kind. I remind myself of that. I believe in that. I really do. And yet, I'm such a jerk, but I find myself honestly and truly getting upset with my friends who are responsible for telling us the weather, particularly our good friend on this show, Kitchener Cooney, who works with Environment Canada. He's always keeping me up to date with the weather. I've been pleading with him to make sure it's good weather this weekend so we can have our car wash on Saturday for Farwell for Hire, our barbecue on Sunday. And Cooney just messaged me and said 32.5 millimeters of rain so far today. And I responded, this is the absolute worst. I want to blame him. It's nobody's fault. It's the weather. The weather's the weather. I don't know why I let it get to me so much, but boy, oh boy, do I. So in case you were curious, 32.5 millimeters of rain so far today. And I don't think we're going to get anywhere near 32.5 degrees, which is where I think we should be with the weather on May the 22nd. Back to the phones on Talkback. Doug, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mike. Thanks for taking my call. I have some insight on the Laverne and Shirley show that I remembered when somebody talked about that as their theme show. I'm hanging out in Madison, Wisconsin, one of the most beautiful cities in the country, home of the Badgers, Wisconsin, and I hear about the Great Circus Parade and Bastille Days, and they call Milwaukee the festival city. So as I'm driving there, I said, well, Milwaukee's famous for beer, the Milwaukee Mile race, Harley Davidson, and the Laverne and Shirley show. So I'm talking to a vendor at Bastille Days, and a girl goes by who looks like Laverne, and I can't help but ask the girl at the vendor. She said, shh, shh, be quiet. Those are called Southsiders. Don't call any girl here a Southsider. You're in for it. So I start mentioning Southsider. A girl goes by and gives me the dirtiest look. I think only the locals would have known that, but that's something that was really accurate about that show.
Doug, you lost me here. Am I allowed to say Southsider on the air?
Oh, not in Milwaukee, not in front of one that. Well, not in front of a girl from Milwaukee.
From Madison.
Because that's who Laverne was portraying. And they have a reputation in that city of being just like Laverne. And you don't call a girl from Milwaukee a Southsider or she's offended.
All right. I think I'm offended, and I'm not even sure why. I just call them Laverne from now on. Kyle, you're on Talkback. Good afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon, Mike. Thanks for taking my call.
Thanks for making it.
It was a very simple thing. I've been doing errands today, jumping in and out of the car, and the conversation of the old-time TV shows comes up.
Yep.
Now, you did talk about, very quickly, I think, when I heard, Gilligan's Island was tied for number 2.
Which I think is a cop-out. But yes, Gilligan's Island was tied with number 2.
I feel it's a cop-out. Like, it's either 2 or 3 or 1.
Exactly, right? There's no tying in top 10 lists.
Yeah. My request to you, I just want to hear the song.
Well, you know what, Kyle? It's your lucky day, because of all of the songs I had handy in case somebody mentioned them, Gilligan, the theme song to Gilligan's Island is one of them.
Yes. Like I said, I've been running errands, jumping in and out, so I wasn't sure if I missed it. But if not, I'd love to hear it.
All right. Kyle, hang up your phone and turn up your radio. It's coming up, okay?
Will do, bud. Thanks.
Thanks, Kyle. Good to hear from you today. And that should give him plenty of time to reach over for the volume knob to hear Gilligan's Island.
Just sit right back and you'll hear a tale of a fateful trip that started from this tropic point aboard this tiny ship. The mate was a mighty sailing man, the skipper brave and sure. 5 passengers set sail that day for a 3-hour tour, a 3-hour tour.
Oh, and then the weather started getting rough. Kyle, you remember the rest, right? We'll cut it there as we move on with Talkback. It is a talk show after all, but Kyle, I like your taste in theme songs. Terry, good afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon, Mike. Your assistant there, is her name Jan Tan, like the number 10?
Tan, like what you get if it ever gets sunny outside.
Oh, okay, I'm glad that was clarified. I just thought, I don't know if you ever watched the movie Logan's Run. They all had, their last names were all numbers, like Jessica 5 and Logan 6. So
I did not know that. All right, okay. All right.
But theme songs, Beretta, for sure. Do you remember that one with Robert Blake?
I remember the show. I don't remember the theme very well, but yes.
Well, Sammy Davis actually sang the lyrics to it. And SWAT had a good one. It was instrumental. And I know someone brought up Hogan's Heroes, Mike. Do you know who the drummer was for that theme song, the drum intro?
I do not.
Bob Crane.
Really?
Yeah, he actually was he did drumming. So I came across that years ago. I was surprised too when I heard that. But yeah, he played that snare drum like nobody's business. And Mike, I know that you are against this in terms of the road cameras, traffic cameras. I know because I know you have something at stake there about eating shoes, but I think it's a great idea. I think they should have cameras everywhere.
No, stop
because, look, Mike, it makes for better safety. I mean, people just drive like idiots, They're aggressive. I've seen people going in 50-kilometer zones, going 80 and 90. And
But
I mean, if you're rich...
But Terry, okay, hang on. Sorry. But where are they doing that? When it's 50, where are they driving 80 and 90?
About 500 meters from where I live.
Okay, but you're out in the country, so you're on a rural road.
Not in the country. Well, not really. It's within the city limits. It's not downtown, but it's in the city area. It's residential. I mean, it's just people are just getting out of hand. And for example, you're not going to suffer any consequence if you have deep pockets and rich. You're not going to care. You're just going to do.
No, I get. They say it's a tax on the rich. Yeah, I get you.
Of course. So yeah, I think it's a good idea, Mike, and I think it would just increase safety because people would be more aware of that, and it would decrease on this nonsense you see on the roads. People running red lights and stop signs and whatnot.
All right.
Anyway, Mike, have a good day. Thank you.
Thanks, Terry. Appreciate it. It reminds me of the stats we got from Regional Police after Road Safety Week. 200 charges laid, almost half of them for speeding. Look, I'm with Terry that we drive like jackwagons and we really got to stop doing that. But my problem with the speed cameras, not just that I joked that I would eat my shoe if we ever ended up with 175 speed cameras in the region. I still will, because we're never going to get that many. But my problem with the way we are using speed cameras in this region is we are applying these ridiculous school zone speed limits well outside of school days and hours. Not fair. And we're nabbing people for doing 42 in those 30 zones on Sunday afternoons. Those are not the speeders you're looking for. You're looking for the people that are doing 80, like Terry suggests. So if we can recalibrate our cameras and change the times of day and week that they are implemented, you might get more buy-in from me. Until you do that, I'm going to call it a cash grab because that's what I think it is. This is Talkback on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. We have got ourselves a busy Talkback Hour today. Right back to the phones. Daryl, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mike. I was thinking of MASH, MASH.
Great TV show, great theme song.
MASH and the Rifleman.
The Rifleman.
Yeah.
Daryl, you're showing your age. You know that, right?
Getting up there, buddy.
Attaboy, Daryl. Well, thanks for still being with us on the show. MASH is classic. Come on with your coming on.
Through early morning fog I see.
Poor Jen, who's answering the phones on the other side of the glass, wonders what all of us old farts are going on about. Jen, trust me. You missed out on a lot before you were born. Trust us on that. Sean, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mike. One of your previous callers was talking about the speed cameras, and when I think of best TV themes, I think of another fast-moving vehicle, and I apologize if someone's already brought this up, but my favorite TV theme song is Airwolf.
Wow.
It sounds like you're of the same era that I am. You probably remember that one. At least I'm hoping you do.
I do, but you know what, Sean? I never got into it for some reason. I thought you were going to say Dukes of Hazzard.
No, here's another one, too. Yeah, that's right. I was also thinking Knight Rider as well, but I don't remember the theme song that well to Knight Rider. But Airwolf it gets stuck in my head. It's an instrumental. There's no singing, but I'll just be jamming to Airwolf in my head if it gets up in there for the rest of the afternoon. So
I love it. Good man.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Sean. Appreciate it. I don't know why I didn't watch Airwolf. I had friends that did, but it wasn't a show that I picked up on. And believe you me, I love me some fast cars. Greg, good afternoon.
Hey, I'm late to the ball, but I guess so. It's favorite theme songs from the TV shows?
Well, I mean, we were doing that over an hour ago, but it still lingers. I mean, good ideas, they stick around, Greg. So, what do you got?
Okay, so anything that I got might have been said already, but at the top, I'd have to put From Friends, I'll Be There For You, the Rembrandts.
Absolutely. Made number 8 on Rolling Stone's list of the 100 best of all time. I went down the top 10, and that was number 8.
Okay, my number 2 is Hawaii Five-0.
Excellent choice.
Number 3, Rockford Files.
Rockford Files, okay.
Number 4, Happy Days.
Yes, of course.
And 5, Starsky and Hutch.
Starsky and Hutch. Now, I remember the show, but not the theme song.
Yeah, it wasn't really melodic too much, but it just sort of, it just suited them when they're diving over cars and slamming down the criminals and stuff. It just sort of pumped you up kind of thing, more of a pump you up kind of one.
Sure.
So, but anyways, those would be my top 5. And then, I can't argue with Laverne and Shirley. Cheers, welcome back, Cotter. All those that I guess have been said. But, what's nowadays? Is there anything like useful nowadays, or is the idea of a good theme song for TV gone?
The only one that comes up for me is Big Bang Theory, the Bare Naked Ladies song.
Oh, okay, I guess. But and actually, it's funny. As much as I like the shows, complete waste of time theme song. Seinfeld and Frasier, got no use for those two.
Well, Frasier wasn't bad. Seinfeld didn't really have a theme song.
No, it was just a bass guitar just twanging away a few times, and I don't know, Frasier, tossed salad and scrambled eggs. I don't know, just at least the show was great.
Good enough,
right.
Greg. Thanks, buddy.
Catch you later.
You bet. Enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe out there on the roads. I know you're driving around. Bob, good afternoon. You're on Talkback.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Mike. I was wondering, did anybody mention a TV show that became a movie? Mission Impossible?
Oh, my gosh. Which TV show hasn't become a movie? They're turning Broadway musicals into movies now.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah.
And Peter Gunn. Do you remember that?
No, I remember the name. Like, I remember the show by name, but I never watched it. That was a little before my time, Bob.
It's got a pretty good theme to it. If you guys can check it out.
Okay, I will check out the theme to Peter Gunn as well.
And one question. I'm not doing this as a shot.
I'm sorry?
I'm not going to do this as a shot. I just got a question.
Okay.
Do you think there are going to be changes on the Leafs? And do you think Matthews is going to stay?
Yes, I think there will be changes. And yes, I think Matthews will stay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Because you didn't really look through the field the other day when he was asked that question. That's what I'm kind of wondering.
I'm sure there will be changes. There have to be changes this time. I'm not sure that's the right thing to do, but I don't think they would ever trade a guy that scored 70 goals.
Yeah, that's a couple of years ago, but was it?
Yeah, well, so what? Wayne Gretzky didn't score 90 every year. They kept him around, at least for a while.
Yeah. But Gretzky also won the cup a few times.
Yes, he did.
Well, have a good day, Mike.
Thanks, Bob. You too. I love the questions. I will always give you the honest answer. And sometimes that answer is, I haven't got the foggiest. This is the Mike Farwell Show, 12 o'clock Talkback, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Four minutes away from 1, at which time you'll get an update in the 570 News Center. And then I hand over the controls to Rob Snow. Now you know, through until 3 this afternoon. We continue our Talkback Hour with Andre. Good afternoon, Andre.
Good afternoon, Mike. I got a couple. One is theme song. You When You Had Hair. Boss, a plane, the plane.
Wow. Are you, wait. Now, just hang on a second there, Mr. Andre. So you are quoting Fantasy Island.
Yes.
And the person that said, look, boss, the plane was Tattoo.
Yeah.
Who was played, I believe it was Tattoo, who was played by a little person.
Yeah.
Okay, so you are suggesting, Andre, that I'm a little person. I'm a dwarf.
That you were on a milk crate, Mike. Come on now.
Okay, Andre. Okay, I'm going to remember this, Andre. Just remember that I'm like an elephant. I never forget.
Here's my other one. You're
okay.
The captain.
Yeah.
My other one is The Love Boat.
Yeah, I wonder why you liked that one.
You have a good one, Mike.
Thanks, Andre. You too. Can you believe that? What, Andre? Come. I will remind you this. I am the last two things that you can make fun of somebody for. I am short and I am bald. I'm also overweight, but you can't make fun of me for that. That's not allowed anymore. But you can make all the short jokes you want. You can make all the bald jokes you want. I am the last two things that you are allowed to make fun of at your leisure. I am here for your pleasure. I am here but to amuse you. Do I amuse you? Am I funny? Like a clown? Funny how? Walter. Good afternoon.
I'm calling back, Mike.
Okay.
I haven't heard anybody say the number one theme song that everybody knows.
Rolling Stone magazine
everywhere.
said it was the Jeffersons.
It was, well, what do they know? It's the Flintstones.
What does Rolling Stone magazine know? Nothing about music, not Rolling Stone.
Yeah, exactly. So, no, it's the Flintstones, buddy.
Meet the Flintstones.
Everybody knows that song.
All
Even
right.
John Candy knows that song, The Plane, Trains, and Automobiles.
Yeah, but Steve Martin didn't know it.
He knew it by the second verse.
All right,
He was
Walter,
singing.
let's go.
Bye.
Let's hear it. No, don't hang up yet. You turkey. Everybody knows. I wanted Walter to sing a little bit of the Flintstones. My favorite memories of the Flintstones. See, kids, there was a time that we all lived close enough to our elementary schools. We went home at lunch and we watched the Flintstones and Leave It to Beaver over our lunch hour. And then we booked it back to school for 12:55 when the bell rang to start the afternoon classes. These are true stories. 11:45 was the end of morning. Go home for lunch. I didn't go home. I went to my buddy Dave's place and we sat down and we watched the Flintstones and we watched Leave It to Beaver and we drank Pepsi from the bottle because we were dangerous that way. And they made bottles out of glass, not plastic. Oh my goodness gracious. One day you wake up and then you're old. An update from the 570 News Center. Now you know with Rob Snow until 3 this afternoon. Don't forget to get your Farwell for Hire 50/50 tickets at cf5050.ca. My name's Mike Farwell. Bye for now.